Welcome. In this video, you're going to learn how to create an interactive PDF using Adobe's powerful form making tools. Before we get started, here's some things that you're going to need. First, you'll need a pre-made rubric that you can save as a PDF. Second, you're going to need a computer that has Adobe Acrobat Pro. And finally, you're going to need a printer. For this project, the things we're going to learn how to create are text boxes, radio buttons, checkboxes, function buttons, and even custom calculations. So let's get started.
Step 1 is to save your document as a PDF. To save a PDF, simply go to File and choose Save As. Depending on the software you have, your Save As screen may look a little bit different, but look for the word Format and change it from Microsoft Word to PDF. At this time, you can also give it a different name. I'm going to save mine to the desktop and then choose Save. This has now created a PDF version of my rubric on my desktop, and this PDF is what we'll use to create our interactive form. Step 2 is to open the document in Adobe Acrobat Pro and then to convert it to a form. Open your PDF by double-clicking the PDF icon, and this should launch Adobe Acrobat Pro. The first thing we need to do is open our preferences by clicking on Acrobat Pro, going down to Preferences, then choose the Forms field on the left-hand side, and we need to uncheck Automatically Detect Form Fields. Make sure it's not selected. Then choose OK. Next, we can click on the Tools option in the top left-hand corner, and then choose Prepare Form. It'll give us two options, to use the selected file that we already have open or to scan a document. We're just going to use the art rubric we're working with. Then we'll click Start, and this will take us into the form editing mode of the PDF Maker. Notice that at the very top are all of the tools that we'll be working with. Additionally, once a tool is selected and something has been created, look on the right-hand side to make adjustments and to change the names and other things that can be done with the types of tools and techniques we'll be working with. Step 3, we're going to add some text fields. Some places I would want to add text boxes to are along the student name and the comments down at the bottom. To do this, I'm going to use the Add Text Field tool. When I click on this tool, notice that a box will follow my cursor. Now I can click and drag and make the box fill along the length of the line. When I let go, it's going to ask me to give this box a name, and I can call it Student Name. This is the variable name that the rubric is going to use whenever I create other functions. When I click away, you can see it's been named that student name. Let's do the same thing for comments at the bottom. Again, grab your text field tool, click and drag along the area you want to add type to, and then give it a name, and hit return. To preview how this will look, check out the preview button at the top right-hand corner of your screen. When I click on it, both of my fields are lit up. I can click inside of them and type in them. D-O-E, excuse me. At the very bottom, if I want to add comments, I can do that as well. However, I want to add a lot more than just one line of comment, and if I hit return, it's only going to allow me to type in one line. I would like to have a lot more room to type out, say, a paragraph or more. Let's return to our editor by clicking on Edit on the top right-hand corner, and then double-click on the word Comments. Whenever you double-click on a field, it's going to open up the field properties, in this case, the text field properties. And you can see there's a variety of different properties to choose from. Under General, we can change the name. What we want to do is to change the options and turn on multi-line. This will allow us to type along multiple lines. Additionally, we can change the appearance of it and make our font size be a lot smaller. Instead of 12 point, we'll make it 9 point. When I hit close and then return to preview, you can see now I can type return and type in multiple lines of text as necessary. And this is just dummy text for now. We can also highlight everything and delete it and return back to our editor for adding some checkboxes along the top. In step 4, we're going to add some checkboxes. I want to create a check mark next to each of the 3 lines at the top. In order to see this a little bit better, I'm going to zoom in by going to the top and choosing 200%. Then I'm going to scroll over. Now I can see what I'm working with. The checkmark tool at the top works a lot like the type tool, in that I can click and drag and create a box exactly where I want it to go. Again, I do need to give it a name, so I'm going to call this one Check 1 and hit return. Also, I'm going to open up my properties and show you some things that you can do with your checkboxes. First of all, if you wanted to change the color of it, here's our text color. Let's make this a red check whenever I click on it. Also, I don't have to have a check. Under Options, some other check styles can be circles, crosses, squares, even stars. If I choose star, I'll say close. Now I'll go into preview and show you what it looks like. When I click on it, there's my red star. If I turn on back to edit, I'll double click. Let's get rid of that black border that's around that. Under appearance, here's our border color. We'll choose transparent and then close that out as well. Additionally, let's make a copy of each one of these to each of the lines. Hold down your Option key, click and drag, and that'll make a copy wherever you place it. However, one thing to remember is we need to give it a new name each time. So I'm going to double click this second box and under General, give it a new name. Call it Check 2. And then double click this one and call it Check 3. When I go to preview, you can now see that I have different stars or checks, whatever you decide to keep it up with. We'll go back into edit mode and then go to the 200% and fit to width to see our whole document. Step 5 is to add the radio buttons. Radio buttons give you the ability to assign multiple values to the same field. Here's what that means. Notice on my rubric, each standard has 5 different sub-values, and 5 divided over 100 points means that each field represents 20 points each, 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100. So what I need to do is to create a button and assign each one that value. Here's how to do that. Choose the radio button icon, and just like with the checkbox, you can click and drag and create your own little button. This time I have 2 different fields to fill in. The first one I need to do is to give it a group name. In my case, I'm just going to call it Standard 1. Notice that I did not put any spaces inside of my group name. That's going to be very important later on. The choice for this one is the value of it. So for this first one, it needs to be 20. Next, I need to create a new button for each one of these, and only changing up the value of it. So I'm going to choose Add Another Button. Then I'm going to try to align it up as best as possible. Click and drag. Again, it's going to go under Standard 1, already typed, and this one's going to be 40. Choose another button. Click and drag. 60. Add another button. 80. And add a final button. And then 100. When I hit return and click off, look on the right hand side. You can see under Standard 1, I've got a whole listing of all the different buttons, 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100. I'll repeat this process for each of the other standards, Standard 2, 3, and 4. Choose the radio button, click and drag. This time, give it a new group name. This will be Standard 2. But repeat the same number of choices that you have. The first one will be 20. Add a new button. 40, add another one, 60, 80, and so on, until your entire rubric is filled up. In step 6, we're going to add some custom calculations. Now that we've created radio buttons for each of the standards, I can go to Preview, and you can see wherever I click, that's going to represent the grade for each of the standards on my rubric. Now for my particular rubric, everything I have is weighted differently. The first standard is going to count 60% of their grade, the second and third is 10%, and the final will be 20%. When it's all added together, that'll give me 100% of their overall grade. Now to show this, I need to do some custom calculations. Let's go back into our edit mode, and we're going to add some text boxes along each of the lines under the grade column. So let's add our text box, click and drag, and let's do the formatting first. The first thing I'm going to do is give it a name, a unique name that has no spaces, grade 1, and hit return. If I double click on it and open up my properties, we're going to make each one of these read only. I'm going to go to the appearance, make our font size a little bit bigger, say 18, and also change up the text color. We'll do this in green. And say also under options, we'll make this centered and say close. Then I'll make a copy of each one. Copy there, hold down Option or Alt to quickly make this copy. And next we need to change the name of them. They don't all need to be named grade 1. Double click on it. Under General, we'll call this one grade 2. Under this one, we'll call it grade 3. And under this one, we'll call it grade 4. Now that they're all named differently, here's where the magic happens. Let's double click and open up grade 1 options. Under the Calculate tab, we're going to check off Simplified Field Notation, then choose Edit. This is a fancy way for allowing us to type in our own equation. And what we want to do is to get 60% of whatever field we're working in this case standard 1. So I'm going to type in standard 1 times 0.6. Notice that I typed standard 1 exactly as it appears on each of the radio buttons. This is also why we can't have any spaces. If you have a space in this editor, it's just not going to work out. If I say OK, there it is typed into there, and we'll hit close. Let's do the same thing for grade 2. Double click on grade 2, choose Simplified Field, Edit, and then type in your equation. Standard 2 this time, times 10%. Say OK. Same for grade 3. Simplified, Edit, Standard 3 times 10%. And grade 4. Simplified, Edit, this time times 0.2%. And say OK. Then we'll hit close. When we turn on preview, now you can see wherever I click, it's going to update my grade on the side, giving it a certain percentage of whatever I click on. 10, 20, or 60%. The final thing I need to do is to add up all of these grades to give me my overall grade at the very bottom. We'll go back to Edit, make one more text box at the very bottom. Click and drag. Again, we'll call this overall grade, no spaces. Under the properties, this time we're going to make it very simple. We're going to choose the value is the sum, we're adding all of these together, and let's pick what we're adding up. This will give us a selection of all the fields that we have. In our case, we just want to add up grades 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to check off grade 1, 2, and 3 and say OK. You can see there they are added at the bottom. And we'll close this out. When I go back to preview, here you can see our final overall grade is placed right here. And as I click on each one, it's going to add up and automatically give me my grade outcome. Again, I can go back and change the formatting, change the color of how it looks, but now the functionality is working really well. The last thing I want to do is to be able to add some buttons that will allow me to print and to clear my form so I can use it again. And finally, in step 7, we're going to add some custom function buttons. I would like to add some custom buttons to my PDF that allows me to clear my form and allows me to print it. Let's go back into the edit mode. Click on the little OK tool at the very top of your screen and then click and drag to add a custom button. We'll give it a name, and this first button will be our Clear Form button. Click on All Properties. The first one we'll set is our General tab. We're going to change the form field from being visible to being visible, but it doesn't print. This means when I send it to the printer, you won't see this button. Next, under the Appearance, we'll change the fill color to something closer to red. And we'll change the options. The label of it will be Clear Form. Here's where the magic happens. Under the Actions pad, we're going to change the selected action once we click on the mouse. So once it mouses up, change your select action to Reset the Form. Then we'll click Add. From Add, it's going to ask us, what do we want to reset? Since we want to reset everything that's on here, we're going to keep everything selected and say OK. Now when I hit Close and I go to Preview, you can see a little button has been created, and I can choose and change up whatever I need. And when I click Clear, it clears away my entire form to start afresh. Let's go back and now add a Print button. Again, choose our little OK tool, click and drag. It really doesn't matter the size, position, and location. I just like to put them at the top. We'll call this our Print button. Again, under All Properties, General, we're going to change it to a Non-Printing button. Let's make this appearance be a little bit more green. Under the Options, we'll call it Print Form. And under the Actions, this time, whenever we mouse up or click on it, we're going to execute a menu item. The menu items are all the different options available to you at the top of your screen. And in our case, when we click Add, we're going to choose the File and Print to print this document and say OK. Now when we close it and we go to Preview, I can click around, click to clear my form, or when I'm ready to print, click on Print Form, and my Print dialog box comes up. This is working perfect. Once you have your PDF looking and acting exactly the way you want it to look and act, you can save it by going to File and down to Save or Save As if you wanted to give it a different name.
In this lesson, we learned how to save a document as a PDF, how to convert that PDF to an editable form, and how to add text boxes, check boxes, how to create radio buttons and custom calculations, and also how to add your own function buttons. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thank you for watching.